You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, your hand reaches for one thing, your sleep score. And in one heartbeat, a number tells you what kind of day you're allowed to have. If that sounds familiar, stay with me because today we're talking about the moment health tracking quietly crosses a line from supportive tool to emotional steering wheel. I'm Kristen Beasley, a certified coach in functional medicine, nutrition, and brain health. And this is a special bonus episode of the Healthy Life Approach podcast. And yes, I'm going to say this up front. I'm not here to shame tracking. I use wearables too. They can be incredibly helpful. The only question is whether your relationship with tracking is helping you live your life or slowly shrinking it. If you heard my earlier episode on measurement, episode 7, you might remember we talked about warning signs, how tracking can slide from useful into compulsive. And if you felt that little jolt of recognition like, oh no, I don't know if I could stop, that doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're paying attention. That feeling is information. First, an important boundary. Today, I'm talking about consumer wellness devices you choose to buy. Fitness trackers, smartwatches, and sleep rings. Think Apple Watch, Fitbit, Aura, and Whoop. I'm not talking about medically prescribed monitoring. If your doctor has you using something like a continuous glucose monitor, a cardiac monitor, or a pulse oximeter as part of treatment, that's different. Taking a break from that kind of monitoring can have real health consequences, and any changes there should be made with your healthcare team. Now, if you happen to live in both worlds, maybe you have a prescribed CGM, but also track sleep with a ring, the pieces about optional tracking and anxiety may still be useful. The goal isn't rebellion, the goal is discernment. So let me ask you something that might feel a little too real. When was the last time your step count decided whether you felt good about your day, or the last time you checked a score before you checked in with your own body? If the number comes first, it can start to train you to distrust yourself. Researchers talk about something that I like to call the monitoring paradox. You check your data and you feel relief just for a second, but that relief comes with a hidden cost. Your brain learns that relief only arrives after the next check, so you check again and again. And now it's not tracking, it's reassurance seeking. A 2024 study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association followed people with atrial fibrillation. The group wearing wearables tended to monitor symptoms more, worry more about their heart, and have more concerns about treatment compared to people who weren't using wearables. And a chunk of them felt anxiety or fear from automated irregular rhythm notifications. Some people were recording an extremely high number of ECGs, not because a doctor told them to, but because the device made it easy to keep asking, am I okay now? And that's the deeper pattern. In psychology, reassurance seeking is known to reduce anxiety briefly, but then it comes back stronger. Checking becomes a safety behavior. You're trying to create certainty, but your nervous system never learns the skill of tolerating uncertainty, so the urge stays alive. Here's a subtle shift I see all the time. Your wearable starts as a tool, and then at some point it becomes a tether. It doesn't just inform you, it regulates you. Uneasy? Check the number. Relieved? Great, until the next moment of doubt. Over time, the very thing you hoped would make you feel secure becomes the thing that keeps you on edge. Sleep tracking is one of the biggest doorways into this. A sleep researcher coined the term orthosomnia for people who became so focused on getting a perfect sleep data score that the tracking itself interferes with sleep. Think about how cruel that is. You're trying to sleep better, but the pressure to get a good score makes you more vigilant, more frustrated, more rigid, and then the problem grows. Newer research suggests orthosomnia may affect a meaningful slice of sleep tracker users, and sleep medicine organizations have said plainly, if the tracker is making you lose sleep, it is okay to put it away. That is not quitting. That is choosing what actually improves your rest. One of the most mind-bending studies on this comes from Stanford. Researchers ran a randomized trial with Apple Watch users and secretly manipulated step feedback for some participants, showing inflated numbers to one group and deflated numbers to another. Here's the point. Their actual activity didn't change, but the people who saw deflated feedback started to feel worse mentally. More negative emotions, lower self-esteem. Their blood pressure and resting heart rate crept up too. Same body, same behavior, different number on a screen, and the mind and body responded as if it were reality. So sometimes the wearable isn't just reporting your life, it's shaping your life. And when you layer in goal setting and constant feedback, researchers have found that it can trigger guilt, rumination, disappointment, and anxiety, especially when you don't hit targets. And if you've ever spiraled after seeing a weird metric, you're not alone. Another doorway into this pattern is hypochondria, health anxiety fed by searching and checking. Studies show a strong link between constant health searching and increased anxiety. And what keeps the cycle going is unpredictability. Sometimes you search or check and feel better, and sometimes you find something scary. That randomness hooks your brain. Wearables can do the same thing. Most days you get a reassuring number, and then one day you get a strange one, and suddenly you're back in the loop. Quick note, this is education, not medical advice. If you have symptoms, medical concerns, or anxiety that feels intense or unmanageable, please work with your healthcare provider or a mental health professional. Okay, with that said, let's build a foundation that's easy to forget in the era of dashboards and graphs. Your body doesn't care if it's being tracked. Your heart beats whether or not an app is open. Your muscle benefits from a walk even if no one logs it. Your brain still does the deep work of sleep, memory organization, nervous system repair, metabolic cleanup, whether you get a score in the morning or not. And here's something many people need permission to believe. Your lived experience matters. It's not automatically less accurate than device data. In fact, research comparing self-reported sleep to wearable measured sleep has shown the match can be surprisingly weak. Sometimes you'll feel okay and your device says you slept poorly. Sometimes you'll feel wrecked and your tracker gives you a gold star. Those are not the same measurement systems. They are answering different questions. This is where interoception comes in, your ability to sense internal signals like hunger, fatigue, calm, tension, and emotional shifts. There's even research measuring how much a person trusts their body's sensations. And in general, stronger interoceptive skills are linked to better well-being. But there's a nuance. Anxiety can distort body awareness. There's a difference between being in tune and being on patrol. Noticing your heartbeat because you're grounded isn't the same as monitoring your heartbeat because you're afraid. And if you're unsure where you fall on that line, a therapist who understands anxiety can help you sort it out without judgment. Now, let's talk about taking a break from tracking because this is where people get nervous. There isn't as much formal research on wearable breaks as you'd expect, but what we do have is revealing. Studies of former fitness tracker users show people often stop because of frustration, demotivation, inaccurate data, or a growing sense of dependence. And many don't quit forever, they cycle in and out. They track when it feels empowering, and they drop it when it starts to feel heavy. Some research also shows what happens when people can't wear their device. Dead battery, forgot it at home. Instead of neutrality, they report guilt, anxiety, and self-consciousness. That's a big clue. If the absence of tracking makes you feel like you did something wrong, the device may have become more than a tool. So here's a structured 2-week tracking break designed to reduce the snapback effect of quitting cold turkey. We'll do it in 3 phases: preparation, disruption, and return. Phase 1 is preparation. First, if you have any medical conditions or if anxiety is a big part of this for you, talk with your clinician. You're not asking for permission to live your life, you're creating a plan that is safe. You can also discuss which symptoms to watch for without a device and what boundaries might actually support your nervous system. Second, write down your baseline once, not every day, once. Your usual sleep window, your general activity range, and what normal tends to look like for you. If you've tracked for months or years, your brain already knows the patterns. The goal is to stop rehearsing them daily. Third, expect discomfort. That's not a warning sign that the break is failing. It is a sign your nervous system is adapting. If checking has become a way of creating certainty, removing it can feel like stepping into a fog. And that's the work, learning you can stand in the fog and still be okay. I'll share something personal here. The first time I truly stopped tracking, it felt weirdly similar to leaving the house without my phone. I felt exposed, like I didn't have my usual safety net. But then something shifted. I started noticing my internal cues again, slowly, imperfectly, but enough to realize that I hadn't lost the ability. I'd just been outsourcing it. Phase 2 is disruption. Choose a time frame. 14 days works well. If 2 weeks feels like too much, start with 7. Forever tends to trigger panic. 2 weeks tends to feel possible. And set a midpoint check-in on day 7. A couple of sentences about what surprised you, what was harder than expected, and what felt better than you thought it would. During the break, the urge to check will show up. Don't argue with it. Don't shame it, just label it. There's the urge to check. Urges crest and vault like waves. The first few days are usually the loudest, and then, for many people, the intensity drops. Now, what do you focus on instead of metrics? Keystone behaviors, the kind that actually moves the needle, whether or not anyone is scoring them. Pick 3 daily anchors. Give yourself a real shot at sleep. Move your body in a supportive way and get daylight or go outside at some point. Then add the basics: nourishment that keeps you steady, hydration, connection, and something that makes you feel like yourself. Here's the mindset pivot. Instead of asking, "What does my device say?" ask, "What would freedom from numbers feel like in my body today?" Not what would look impressive, what would feel steady, what would feel peaceful. You can even try a tiny experiment right now. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it out slowly. And imagine tomorrow morning without checking a score. Do you feel lighter or tense? Either answer is allowed. We're just collecting a different kind of data, the kind your body has been offering all along. Phase 3, return. At the end of the break, ask yourself 3 direct questions. Question 1, do I miss the data or do I miss the sense of control? If you miss the data because it helps you learn something practical, like noticing alcohol wrecks your sleep, that's useful. But if you miss it because you feel unsafe without it, then the tracker may have been managing anxiety more than improving health. Question 2, which metrics are actually helpful? You don't have to track everything. You might keep steps and drop sleep scores. You might track occasionally instead of daily. You might turn off notifications completely so your wrist stops interrupting your nervous system. Question 3, can I build boundaries that protect my mental health? Maybe you don't check anything until after breakfast. Maybe you look at trends once a week instead of staring at daily fluctuations. Maybe you stop comparing today to yesterday and focus on broader patterns. To make that clear, try a green, yellow, red sorting system. Green is data that helps without hijacking your emotions. Yellow is data that can be useful but becomes risky when you check too often or you tie it to self-worth. Red is anything that reliably sparks anxiety, compulsive checking, or ruins your day. Take a moment and sort the metrics you look at. If most of yours land in yellow or red, that's not a moral failure. It's a sign you need stronger boundaries, or maybe you need to step away entirely. And yes, it is a valid outcome to decide you're not going back. If you feel calmer, more present, and more trusting of your body without the device, that's not giving up. That's the result. Now, I want to speak to the fear underneath all of this, the thought that whispers, but what if my health is getting worse and I won't know because I'm not tracking? That fear makes sense. But if your health is truly declining, your life will often tell you. You'll notice changes, energy drops, you'll get winded, mood shifts, sleep changes, and your body feels different. For most of human history, people managed health without wearable dashboards. They paid attention, and when something persisted or felt concerning, they got help. Your internal knowing didn't disappear, it just got drowned out by notifications and scores. And if you take a break and you genuinely feel physically worse, that matters. That is a reason to check in with your doctor. But many people discover the opposite. They feel better. The constant monitoring had been a quiet, steady stressor, and they didn't realize or recognize the weight until they put it down. Before we close, imagine 2 future versions of yourself. In one, you live without a tracker. You move because it feels good, you rest when you're tired, and you trust your body again. In the other, you use the tracker, but it stays in place, notifications off, check-ins limited, data used for insight rather than identity. Which one feels like relief? Not which one feels more impressive, which one feels like peace. Wearables aren't automatically harmful, but research in real life show they can become psychological traps, especially if you lean toward health anxiety, perfectionism, or obsessive habits. The same checking that soothes you for a moment can keep the anxiety alive long term. Taking a break from tracking isn't abandoning your health. It can be reclaimed. It's choosing to let your body be the primary source of truth again and letting numbers return to what they were meant to be. Optional information, not a verdict. Next week, we're back with an important topic: 5 early brain changes in women that often get brushed off as stress or aging, but may be early signals worth taking seriously. We'll talk about what to watch for, when to act, and why earlier attention can make a real difference. And if you try a tracking break, I'd genuinely love to hear what you notice. You can message me on Instagram at Kristen J. Beasley or email me. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Take care of your beautiful brain. And remember, your body speaks louder than numbers. Disclaimer, I'm a health coach, not a licensed medical professional. This podcast is for general education and informational purposes and is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have medical conditions, specific health concerns, or anxiety that feels unmanageable, please talk to your healthcare provider before making changes to how you track or manage your health. It's important to vet health information, especially when considering new treatments, and to consult qualified professionals for safe, informed decisions. This podcast and the show notes may include affiliate links. If you purchase through those links, I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you, which helps to support the show.